Okay, so this thing seems to be giving me some trouble right now. I don't know if anyone's out there or if anyone can see me right now. Just kind of fumbling around a bit as usual. Okay, I think I have it up. Okay, there we go. Now I can see everyone. Let me see. I think my screen is on a delay. Can everyone hear me and see me okay? Definitely took a while to get this whole thing to come up. Okay, cool. Okay, so you guys are able to hear me fine. Let me see. So I guess I'll just kind of wait and see if anyone else kind of comes in. I know I just did this super last minute and my computer was just being a pain with trying to get this whole thing set up. Plus I'm looking at two different screens since I'm on a delay. The delayed screen is just kind of confusing here to look at. Alrighty, so I don't know, I guess just to kill time here a bit to see if anybody else will come in. What have you guys been up to this evening? Obviously me fighting with my computer here. Nothing much. I think you guys are way more quiet than I am. Okay. So I know I did want to try and do an unboxing for the Puppet Master collectible trunk set. I had purchased that sometime back in November. I missed the original sale for that, which was sometime in October, and I was kind of bummed out that I missed it because I think at the time they were selling them on a cap of like 150 or so. I could be wrong. I always misquote stuff. But I know I had missed that and I was just kind of bummed out. And I was pretty glad that I managed to catch it in November. I always planned on doing an unboxing for that since it's just something I do every now and again and it's something I want to get back into. I just kind of got away from it. But for some odd reason, I just kind of keep putting it off and it just kind of keeps slipping past me. Just other things that I'm just kind of dealing with here and there. But I just figured, that I would just kind of, I'm trying to learn this live streaming thing. Why not just jump into it and do it? Just rip the Band-Aid off, right? Let me see, live action figures for the Godzilla? What? Do you mean the ones behind me? Um, but yeah, the whole thing just kind of took a while, and I was kind of eager to get it until it finally did show up. But when the whole box thing, oh, okay. I'll get to that in just a few seconds. When the whole box thing showed up, it was like kind of like dented up a bit. And I was like, kind of like bummed out, like, oh no, I spent so much on this thing and it's wrecked. That thing was like practically a car payment. But yeah, the Godzillas, I have several back here. Let me see if I can just pull my laptop closer so you can get a better look at that. Whoops, connected to all kinds of stuff here. Oops, turning wrong there. I don't know if you guys can see okay there. Like I said, I'm working off of two different screens or views here. But yeah, I have the top ones, which were like the little Godzilla blind boxes. And then I believe these were actually reproductions of this, which were kind of like the little chibi style Godzilla figurines. I basically just taped it back, but he pretty much just looks like this same guy here. And then, of course, I've got my scalar Godzilla bust, and then the little pop, and then for that crazy guy there just randomly. But yeah, I just kind of set up displays in my room here and there just randomly. I know I have one for, wow, it's in my closet and I totally forgot what it was. I have kind of like a mini display for like the whole Maleficent thing. I was like really into that at one point in time. And I know I eventually want to set up one for Alien and for my Pumpkinhead sets of stuff as well. So I don't know, I probably would turn it into more like a rotating display type thing, just kind of like take something down, put something up to take its place, just to change things up a bit, just kind of keep it from getting too boring. Oh, thank you. I get so much into rattling off and then I forget to read the comments. Sorry. So, you know, need a little bit of practice here. Not the end of the world. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I was wanting to do today here, is just kind of take a look at the Toulon box set. But like, is there anything in particular that you guys are like into collecting? Or I don't know if you guys kind of do like the whole rotating displays thing also, just kind of change it up a bit. Like, I know in my situation, my bedroom is so small, so it's kind of hard to have everything out at once. So I just kind of like swap it out every now and again, since the whole place would look way more cluttered than it does already. But yeah, I don't know if like the sound is okay on this. I have my microphone plugged in right now. Like, I know last time I tried live streaming, I had kind of like an echo or a hollow type sound. So I don't know if it just sounds okay. But let me see here. And sorry if the camera keeps shaking a bit. I have my laptop on my bed, since I kind of like sitting here, since, you know, the background just kind of gives something to look at. It's not just a plain boring wall. So yeah, that's what the bit of shaking is here every now and again. So sorry if that gets annoying. Yeah, PMR bones. Yeah, I think it's kind of like a total adjustment period, just kind of getting used to the whole, because I'm used to just shooting videos, and then you've got kind of like this whole live interaction thing going, whereas opposed if you're filming like a video review, it's kind of like you're used to just rattling off. If you mess up, then you just kind of rephrase and start over, and it's not the end of the world. So yeah, I guess I'm just mostly just working on getting comfortable with this and trying not to seem so awkward. But, you know, everyone's always weird in the beginning, especially when it's a new experience. That just comes with the territory, unfortunately. Let me see. And thank you for late horror show, for saying you like my videos. I know for some people, they're not really something that everyone is into. Like, I know my average watch time is like about 1 to 2 minutes. So I don't know, that kind of makes me feel like my videos are a bit boring, but you know, I have my own approach. It's not like I'm one of those people that I'm peppy and outgoing. And I know for the most part, like everyone's more responsive to that, but I just don't want to fake and be something I'm not, you know, especially when you can just see right through it. So, you know, I'd rather just be me instead of pretend to be something I'm not, because at the end of the day, you know, eventually you guys are going to see right through it. And, it's kind of hard when you've watched someone for so long and you think, oh, that you know this person, and then it's like, well, that person's just a straight up liar. I don't want to do that. So I'm just me. And I'm just kind of scrolling through the comments here really quick. Oh, the Dark Shadows. Yeah, that is a huge box. That one, when I received it, this one's actually a replacement copy that's behind me because the seller that I had bought that off of Amazon didn't package it well. They like bulked it up with other things, so it showed up all dinged up, which really irked me because I wish for some reason that like companies would take into consideration that if you're selling something that's very niche, you're dealing with collectors. Some people are more particular than others. I am super picky. So if something has like a ding or a scratch in it, I'm like, I don't want it. I'm going to return it for something else, which is what I did. So since they refused to let me exchange, and I'm not going to say who it is, I'm not here to like trash talk companies or anything, but they refused to let me like do like an exchange. So since they sent it to me in like this horrible packaging, like there was no bubble wrap, packing peanuts, nothing. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm sending it back the same way. It's going to show up worse, but that's the way you want it. Which, I mean, it's awful to admit being that way, but if you spend so much on something and you work so hard and you collect things that you love and things that interest you, so it kind of feels, basically like they're just showing exactly how much they do not care. And I'm struggling to kind of filter what I actually want to say because I can be a total trash and gutter mouth. And this is the first solo stream, so let's wait until I get into the trash talking and you guys can see how vulgar I really can be. Plus, maybe some of you just really don't want to hear that, especially because I try to carry myself a certain way in my videos, to be more professional. But, right now I'm just being me in my off time. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can really say some colorful and creative combinations, but who can't, I know in the past I've definitely had some male coworkers like, stop, you're making me embarrassed. But yeah, it can be pretty bad when it comes to it sometimes. Just looking through more comments here. Yeah, I really love the old Dark Shadows. My mom was actually a fan of the show, so especially at the time, people were a lot more reserved. So she grew up in a household where um, people, if people on television were kissing each other, she had to change the channel. It's kind of like the whole, I guess, modern day equivalent of like a booby flash. You've got the whole reserved family, like, change that. They kind of treated it that way. But that was like her background. But Dark Shadows was definitely something she enjoyed. I know I kind of like went totally left field there, but yeah, it was like one of the things that she definitely loved watching during her youth. Trash talk is fine. Yeah, definitely hard not to want to get into it from time to time. Um, totally. Of course, when you're online, it's kind of hard not to want to really get into it sometimes because you realize how small the online world can really be. So if you like fub here and there, it's kind of like, oh no, I've burnt a bridge I didn't even know existed. So that unfortunately is kind of part of the downside in that. Luckily, I haven't learned that lesson yet. Hopefully I won't have to. But I don't know, it's kind of one of those crazy things there. But yeah, I think it's fun when people kind of like keep their collectibles around them because it kind of gives you an idea or a feel of what type of a person they are. You at least get kind of like a sense of what their interests are. So it's kind of like, to some degree, they sort of potentially become more relatable, if that makes any sense. Especially if it's someone you really don't know too much about, or someone's channel that you're just taking an interest in. You kind of find some common ground there, and it's like, oh well, I didn't know so and so was into this. That's really cool. I definitely love discovering things about other people's interest, especially if it's especially if it's a channel I followed for a while. It definitely piques my interest a lot more if I see we have a lot more interest in like music, TV shows, um, particular types of collectibles, things like that. Um, yeah, Save Horror Tube is definitely pulling a lot of us together. I would definitely agree with that. And I think to a degree, aside from like really strengthening the community, it's also helped a lot of the smaller unknown channels kind of come forward and make it easier for certain types of genres or niches to be discovered. I know I've definitely run across a lot of channels that I didn't even know existed. Some channels that are just as old or even older than mine. So that was kind of crazy to me. Um, I know I've definitely been subbing a lot of the channels that have caught my interest, but yeah, I definitely want to sit down and just kind of take a day to like watch at least one video from all of these channels and comment for them, because it's always fun to get a comment, especially if someone's watching and supporting you. That's always like one of the best feelings, especially when you're first starting out. A lot of people just kind of feel ignored, like they're talking at themselves and not really doing anything. Well, not really doing anything in the sense like they're getting lost in the masses. That probably sounded bad the way I said that. um, but yeah, I mean, the whole Save Horror Tube, I think, was definitely an awesome idea, and I think everyone agrees that Emma was like a total genius and a sweetheart for coming up with that. But it's kind of ironic because on my own end, I had kind of to myself decided that this was the year that I really wanted to get more into YouTube and you know put some real work and effort into my channel, and then this whole demonetization thing hits, and it's kind of like, well, now everyone's kind of on the same page where we're working hard to try and save all of the hard work that we've done. And it's not necessarily about being monetized, but the fact that, your videos are basically being buried, and, no one wants that. So, I mean, that's definitely the main thing there for me, at least. Yeah, the whole thing about being a family and sticking together, it feels like we've all definitely become a lot stronger as a community. Like, I definitely, especially on Instagram, which is where I used to spend a lot of my time. It feels like very close knit, kind of like, you develop and you make friends so quickly and you find out so much about each other. And, it's kind of hard to not care about, who it is that you're following on some personal level, because you do view them as a friend, or more than that, but it's definitely kind of like one of those things where you're not necessarily just like engaging with them via media, but to me at least, kind of like to some degree, it feels like you're emotionally invested, kind of like, they're not, across the country or somewhere else. It's kind of like they really are, to some degree, part of your life, like a daily part of your life, not a routine where you just go and you check in social media. You actually care about who it is that you're taking a look at, or even if it's like unboxings and stuff. It's always fun to see other people's things and pickups. For me, the appeal in that is just kind of like seeing how excited people get when they open things up, and everyone's reaction is always different depending on what the item is. But I definitely find myself just kind of laughing along and just really enjoying the video a lot more, just seeing people's honest reactions to things. But yeah, I definitely love seen other people's collections as well as just kind of like sharing bits of mine here and there. I don't know about you guys, but those Saska butts in the background are really kind of distracting. I catch myself looking at them every so often. um, yeah, there's kind of like more of a look there if you're not familiar with that poster. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely would like to get into the habit of doing more, excuse me, more live streams. Like, there's definitely a few ideas I kind of have rolling around in my head of, things I'd like to do, especially as far as like with engaging with other other YouTubers, especially because I think it's a great opportunity to just really continue to build that community, but also just find, who else is there, what their interests are, just kind of I guess in a sense kind of makes the YouTube world seem a little bit less lonely because you have more people to interact and engage with, if that makes any sense. Like I have people that I've talked to since probably within my first or second year of YouTube that I still talk to. Every now and again we actually um, do like trades for films or whatever. So that's always kind of like a fun thing to do as well. There are several people that I exchange holiday cards with. So there's definitely that sense of community or family there. It's not necessarily someone's face that you're seeing on the screen and just being some random person on the internet. It's kind of like, we are people, we actually do care about each other, and it shows, which I really love and appreciate that, especially when reading through other people's comment sections, just seeing how people interact. You can tell that they've known each other for a while, or that they have this closeness about that. you know we all have some funny posters. Yeah, I'd say to some degree, yeah. I just kind of found that angle distracting there, but I'm not going to bother to fix it. I kind of like it. So, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You thought it was an armpit? Okay. um, kind of don't see it, but okay. Um, Now I'm just kind of curious. I'm just looking at it even more now. Probably not the best thing, but yeah. Actually, there's quite a bit more of you guys that showed up than I expected. I was kind of like expecting this to be like super tiny. It's still, small stream, but it's not that bad for a first run, in my opinion. Um, but no, I actually am grateful for you guys for showing up and giving me a few moments of your time and just taking the time to chat with me or just letting me be silly here by myself. um, you notice the Godzilla figures. um, yeah, I think the things we notice and the things that distract us really say a lot about us as people. Probably not the best thing to admit to. Um, but yeah, I have one of those weird senses of humor where, just random things distract and catch my interest. And I think like if you guys have followed my YouTube for a long while, or, even if you've seen the random stuff I type on Twitter, you probably kind of see a bit of my silliness there. But yeah, I can definitely be super random at times, but who isn't? But no, yeah, I'm totally grateful that you guys took some time to just kind of drop by and check out the stream here. But I guess let me go ahead and grab the trunk, I guess you could say. Um, I honestly expected it to be a little bit bigger, but I'm just going to have to push my laptop back a bit to make room up here. Everybody is random. definitely for sure. I'd say maybe some of us more than others, kind of like some people are like totally left field, like where did that come from? Or it's more like you're not as random as you think you are type deal, you know? We're just all different. If not, they're probably aliens. Yeah, I'd say. Actually, non-random people are pretty boring. I'd say avoid them at all costs. Um, but yeah, the box for this thing, I don't know why I would show you a plain box. I mean, it's kind of boring, but it kind of showed up a bit dinged up and banged up. And I was like, oh no, you know, I paid so much for this thing. And I'm like, I'm going to have to return it. So I was like totally bummed out about that when I saw the box until I realized that they actually did they actually took the time and effort to package things the way a collector would appreciate, meaning it was double boxed. So you've got the bubble wrap as well as the actual box containing the set here. So I was actually a lot more excited when I discovered that, you know, especially because most companies just, you know, throw things into a box. They don't even bother to pack it up too well. So I was really impressed that Full Moon Drop did that. All right. Have a nice evening. Thanks for dropping by. But let me see. Pop the bubble wrap. You know, that's always a fun thing to do. Why not? I actually just popped it off already, so the box is pretty much just naked. But you know, kind of wished it did a louder snap to it. But let me go ahead and just pull this box up here, and you see, trying to adjust here. So inside you've got the bit of plastic, and I've got bad lighting. It's also got the signature of Charles Band right there. Okay, and this thing actually really does have very nice detail on it. So in case you're wondering how I got that box open so quick, I had actually pre-cut it just to save time instead of seeing me struggling with a box. That's always kind of boring to watch. But yeah, there is some of the front detail. I don't know if you guys can see it okay. And of course, just the little stickers and stamps and whatnot. So you've pretty much just got this going on around it. It kind of has a pressed wood feel to it. I'm not really too sure like what this thing is made out of, but it's definitely not cardboard. See, it looks like a few of the stickers are torn. I'm hoping that's done for authenticity, but I've got one right there that's kind of coming undone. And just really quick before I like totally open that up, I thought it was kind of cool. Like between the space in the boxes, they actually just gave me an extra. So I also got kind of like a little blade figurine that came along with it, which I thought was really neat because I was not expecting that at all. And of course, you've got the back detail right there. And I also got a copy of Shrunken Heads, which I'm not too crazy about the cover art. I can swear the original had a different cover art on it. But yeah, this one's actually a fun movie. And, you know, I'm not going to take the shot because, you know, it's too easy to make a joke about that. But, you know, if you guys want to have at it. Yeah, I think they were going for the kind of like a replica look for it. And yeah, it definitely does pick up the light there. Howdy doody. Blur. Okay. Let me see here. the puppet is ready for his next kill. Bubble wrap sounds like a bug zapper. Yeah, it kind of was a wimpy pop to it, but yeah, I thought that was kind of neat that they gave me those little extras there to go along with it, especially since I wasn't, expecting that. But it's definitely very nice that they did that, especially, considering the fact that the cost on this thing practically is a vehicle payment, which is like totally nuts. But I did it. I don't regret it though. I've seen a few here and there. Like I haven't watched the entire series all the way through because there are so many. But I definitely want to take the time and sit and take a look at these, especially because I do like putting video reviews together of like entire film franchises. This one, if I'm remembering correctly, there's like about 10 of them, so I might need to break that up into 2 parts to keep it from getting too long. But go ahead and tilt that. Oops, there it goes. So kind of has that puppeteer's trunk opening to it. So get a hold of this. There you go. So you've got definitely a lot of the detailing on there. And I'm assuming this is like a little, I'm not sure the exact terminology, but for display for the puppets. So I'm assuming the blade they had given me was potentially considered like a starter one, but yeah, just kind of like to pop the little figurines in there. I'm assuming is what the intention for this was. And then of course, Andre Toulon's name, and then the Blu-rays. So, and actually, there's a little booklet in here also. Oops, sorry. I don't know if you guys can see that okay. And then, of course, the detailing on the back there. This looks very kind of Giallo-esque to me, the look of this. I definitely love the retro feel of that. Chad Duncan, they care about collectors. I would definitely say so. I mean, at least that's the impression I got from this, especially with how everything was packaged up. Considering the bad experiences that I have had in the past, I definitely appreciated the way they packaged this up, which is part of why I was so hesitant to some degree to spend so much on it. But no, definitely I'm glad that I took that plunge there. Let me see, and then of course just like a little word from Charles Band right there on the inside of the booklet. Film synopses, which I don't bother to read these anyway because I like to blind watch stuff. So yeah, that was actually the last Puppet Master I ever watched, which that was back in the days of VHS, when I would drop by and like rent the videos from the VHS shop. So I think this was actually when Full Moon actually came back into producing or releasing films. I know they had taken a break. I don't remember if like the whole deal was due to bankruptcy at the time. So like all of these, I refer to them as the new wave Puppet Master because they definitely have like a very different look and feel about them, even though it's still Full Moon. And of course, everyone has like some Nazi theme they do at some point or another, it seems. Either that or time travel. I don't know if they've done time travel yet, and if they haven't, it's probably coming. But yeah. Let me see. I'm just scrolling through the comments really quick here. Where did I get this? I bought it off of fullmoondirect.com, and I don't have any partnership with them or anything, but they actually do have a 50% off Valentine's Day sale that's going to be going on. So they actually do have the same box advertised as being part of the sale, if I remember correctly. So that would probably be a better time to pick it up than when I did. But yeah, I'm definitely glad I picked this up. Definitely well worth it. And of course, if I'm remembering correctly, these are all the original covers on here, just kind of a little bit of framing on there. But yeah, it's pretty much the same like posters that were on the inside of the booklet that I was flipping through. But yeah, I really am leaning towards this thing is made of pressed wood, so it's definitely sturdy. But if you bang it on something hard enough, you'll obviously get a good crack in it. Oops. Yeah, just like that. um, so then, of course, to close it, that probably would require a bit of synchronicity since you have like these little inserts that just kind of need to flip in there. So you kind of just have to just, I guess, make sure you get your timing right, which is what I was struggling with a little bit there for a few seconds. But yeah, I'm definitely glad I picked that up. I mean, like I said, when they were doing the sale for it on the first run, I missed that, which, you know, totally bummed me out. But, you know, I was glad that I caught it on the second run. I don't know like how many more times they plan to release this. Like, it's not numbered, they're just signed. So I don't know if they're just doing it in batches just because it takes X amount of time to produce these. I mean, that's kind of the impression that I get, at least here. But favorite Puppet Master killer is Blade. Yeah, he's definitely a cool one. I don't know. I think when I was a kid, I kind of liked Leech Woman just because she was female and, you know, she's like the only girl in the group. But going strictly off memory, I'm like, other than like maybe Pinhead and Six Shooter, I really don't remember like everyone's names. Am I into video games? I go through phases here and there. It's kind of like just in and out. Like I know I did have a PS3, and I do have quite like a few games on that. I also had like the 3DS. I did have like a digital download for the original Resident Evil, and then I forget which other one I had. But yeah, I mean, I just kind of like go in and out of it. I'm not like a total gamer. I'm just kind of more like a total girl, which is really funny because if someone happens to be playing with me or sitting with me while I'm trying to play something and a monster jumps out, I totally start screaming and running all over the screen. I'm like, get it away. Yeah, so I mean, I'm a total girl when it comes to gaming, or I'll have to do the girl thing and hand the remote over to someone else. Can you do this for me? I can't get past it. But, you know, that's totally me. Just trying to see if there are any questions I might have missed. How many movies did they make? I think it was 10. I didn't count it up while I had it open. Take a quick peek. Plus, it's just an excuse to look at it again. 12. So I was off by 2. But I think if I remember correctly, they were talking about doing another one. I don't know if that got buried or if they're still working on that. Thank you for saying that, Erica. You know, I definitely appreciate it when someone either relates to something I say or they find some kind of a value in it. Especially when I'm reviewing certain videos, I think to some degree, whenever we talk about film, especially in our own personal lives, we all find something relatable in it. So, we all see different things in different films, but, I definitely like, or, I appreciate the fact that you appreciate my points of view or you find something of value in it. So, thank you so much for saying that. Have I seen Hellraiser Judgment or interested in watching it? I haven't seen it. I think the last one I saw was like their first direct to video one, which I want to say was called Deader. I might be wrong. But yeah, I remember thinking this thing is just horrible. And I never bothered watching one ever again. I don't know if it's just me, but, and I know total unpopular opinion, I'm not crazy about the second one either, but it just kind of seems like after the first one, they just get progressively worse. Which I think is unfortunate because, it's a very cool concept, and I wish Clive Barker had remained hands-on with it. He definitely would have kept everything reeled in from going, so crazy or going south. Obviously that was his creation. And I think it was after like I know Rawhead Rex was adapted from one of his short stories. It was adapted from, I don't remember, was it volume 7 of Books of Blood? I definitely need to read those, but I know Candyman was one of them also. That was one of the good ones, actually, but I know he definitely stepped in there because he did not like the way his work was being represented. I think Lord of Illusions was the last one he actually worked on himself, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't know if there's anyone out there that's more versed on Clive Barker than I am. But Hellraiser Judgment, I don't even know what that one is about. I mean, the whole point of plot and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely loved the first one. The scoring definitely has kind of like that whole twisted fairy tale thing about it. It's definitely a very warped love story between Frank and Julia. And even though he didn't really actually come back for her, he was just, what was it, Larry's blood that brought him back to life. He just kind of continued to string Julia along just because she's convenient, I guess. But I definitely think it's fun. Every time she goes out looking for another male victim, she totally goes into like, kind of like slut mode, like she does her makeup really nice, she does her hair, she gets all done up to the nines, and it's just to murder some poor idiot. The lure. Part 3. Yeah, I agree with you. That would have been a good stopping point. Let me see. Hell on Earth, I think that one was, wasn't it? And then Bloodlines was the one after it, which kind of going back to the whole, films that do either eventually the whole time travel or outer space thing. That's kind of crazy that that they do that. Yeah, slut mode. um, you got to stand by your corpse, I guess. For Candyman, I definitely love that one. I'd say, as far as like the Clive Barker adaptations, I would probably list like Candyman first before Hellraiser. Even though you kind of do have like that crazy, dark twistedness about it. But I love the way his mind works. He definitely pulls in like these very detailed alternate realities, kind of like it kind of gives you the sense like he's actually traveled to these places, and then he's actually just kind of like giving us a report on what he saw and experienced while he was there. Definitely amazing writing. Yeah, Bloodline mediocre. Yeah, I would say so. But they do kind of have like that whole like minute period piece thing going on, and I don't know, for some reason I have a thing about period pieces, so that's the only reason I kind of give it a pass. I don't know, it's probably just like a girl thing, every female has that one thing that they just are really into. I just kind of like period pieces and the detailed costumes and whatnot. Candyman can. Um, Inferno put you to sleep. I don't remember that one. Was that one their first direct-to-video um, release? I just, after Bloodlines, I just honestly don't know the name of anything. Um, I mean, even just like the costumes, the makeup, the effects, to some degree, they just feel like a total letdown. I mean, to me at least, especially because you have like this total hardcore feel from the original films, where everything's just all about the detail. Even though it was like the first film, most people are familiar with it, but even if it's been years since you've reviewed it, it just has you by the throat all over again. I mean, for me at least, it really pulls me in and just really holds my interest. Werewolf movies. I do watch quite a bit of werewolf films, not too many. So, I mean, like, it just kind of depends. Bad Moon, I honestly don't remember if I have seen that one. I know I get that one recommended to me quite a bit. I know Gory over on Horror Addicts, she also brings that one up every so often. Um, and I know she does say that that one was based on a book. I believe she says it was written from the dog's point of view, which actually seems really cool. Um, but yeah, horror films. I forget the one that Hammer Films had put out. God, I can't even remember the actor's name. Oliver. I think he was in Burnt Offerings with Karen Black, if I remember correctly. His name's not clicking right now. But I know he had done that werewolf movie. He was playing a Spanish werewolf, which is like totally hilarious because he has that bad accent going on. And then like these blue eyes with jet black hair. It was kind of funny, but it was a good movie. I enjoyed that one. Um, the Howling series, honestly, it's a guilty pleasure for me, but I love the marsupials. Everyone hates that one. I know the story's not that great. The effects are like totally bad, but it's just so fun to watch. It's one of those movies that it's just so horrible. It's hard not to laugh at certain points, especially that one particular scene where the ballerina werewolf, she's wearing her red tutu and they're just kind of like dancing around. It's just funny to me. American Werewolf in London definitely has one of the best transformations. It definitely still holds up today, especially in a day where people just don't even do practical effects hardly anymore, which is unfortunate because it kind of feels like it's becoming one of those lost arts, kind of like people who would develop their own film and, print up their own photos. Um, not too many people have their own dark rooms anymore, or, um, visit dark rooms just to print up their own stuff. But, I love it when you've got the combination of a good balance between digital and practical effects. I can definitely respect that, but it's been a very long time since I've seen a movie that was nothing but practical effects. Um, I would agree to some extent that the whole werewolf mythology, you do have like this repression that you're breaking out from. The whole like restricted or psychological aspect, like you said. Um, it's definitely more about like breaking free, not necessarily becoming something that you're not, because it's more like you're embracing something that was actually there the entire time. You know, it's kind of like man embracing his true beast self and not being ashamed of it, because essentially when it comes down to it, we're all beasts, or we're all animals. It's just more about, I guess, how you carry yourself, or how you act upon that. Just because you embrace your dark side or your beast self doesn't mean you have to be, you know, some total serial killer or anything. I know that's like a total extreme, but I mean, there's definitely a balance to things for sure. Um, American Werewolf in Paris, I know they did do some practical and some digital effects, but I just, even at the time, those digital effects just looked terrible to me. I've always hated them. The film's not that bad. I mean, it took a while for it to grow on me, but it's really not that bad. And if you're willing to look past the effects, it's tolerable. It's not a super strong story, but you know, if you're able to just appreciate it for what it is, you know, it's definitely not that bad a film. Yeah, you know, I totally forgot about that. John Landis did work with Michael Jackson for his Thriller video. But yeah, I think that's the only reason he actually wanted to do the whole werewolf transformation, is because he saw American Werewolf in London, and it just kind of like inspired him. And honestly, now that I think about it, you know, for like music video analysis, I would definitely love to do one um, for Thriller. That would definitely, it's one of those music videos that just kind of makes me think on quite a bit. So, you know, you've definitely given me my idea for my next media discussion video. So thank you. Um, I'll try and see if I can remember, and I'm actually taking a screenshot right now just so I can make sure that I do give you credit, because I do like to shout out people who give me ideas for videos and things. I think it's only correct because it wasn't entirely my idea there. So, you know, thank you to PMR Bones for that. But yeah, I just screenshotted your comment right now. So if and when I do work on that video, I will go ahead and pop that in, and I will link your channel. You know, just as my way of saying thanks for giving me that idea. Um, Let me see here. Let me see here. Where did I leave off in the comments? Yeah, I definitely agree with you though. It's definitely more about the CGI. The thing that really irks me is like when you've got CGI blood. I'm like, corn syrup is so cheap. I mean, you know, even if you don't want to deal with like the whole thickness of it because it hardens after a while, just mix in a little bit of like fruit punch or something. It'll keep it, you know, liquefied. You know, it's not the end of the world. um, I don't think you'd want to be a werewolf ballerina. That would definitely be kind of hard to get up on your tiptoes with those big talons there. Um, but yeah, I've seen some gamers that actually do have some pretty awesome gameplay. I wish I could do it, um, but you know, I can't. You know, I'm just a total girl. It doesn't matter how much I practice at it. You know, eventually, because my thumb is double jointed, it does hurt because it will pop out of place on me every now and again if, you know, I really get into it and start, you know, working the thumbsticks or just mashing the buttons. So after a while, I just kind of have to force myself to step away because it does physically become painful to play. um, but yeah, does anybody have any other questions or anything else you're curious about? I know I also just like, I don't know if there's like anybody new in here that hasn't followed my YouTube for a while. I kind of just wanted to do kind of like a rundown of how I approach my channel, or just kind of like my whole ideology behind horror retrospective. I don't know if that's like something that you guys would be interested in, or did you want to just like stick to just Q&A style here? I mean, I'm cool with it, whatever you guys want to do. Better than you? Nah. I'm honestly not that good at gaming. Like the only game that I can ever get to the end of is like the original Super Mario Brothers, and that's only because I know the shortcuts to skip all the way to World 8, and I can't even make it to the end of that level. I just totally die. um, yeah, that's how old school my gaming is. Um, I've literally skipped from like the original NES to a PS3, and I just really haven't touched or picked up anything since then. Like, I haven't really found a reason to want to buy the PS4. Like, I haven't really seen anything that catches my interest as to where it's like, yeah, I totally have to play that. I need to get this console. So, I'm totally cool with sitting that out, you know. All-time favorite horror scene? Um, can't think of anything that jumps to mind right now. I mean, it's kind of like easier if I'm talking about a particular film, I can tell you like which specific film I liked within that movie, but I don't know. I mean, like right now, just right off the top of my head, because we were talking about it earlier, would be like the scenes between Helen and Candyman. I forget the character's name, but like those scenes where she's like in his presence and she's like so enthralled by him. He has like this total overpowering feel about him, and I think it's cool. Like if you don't know like the background information, she actually was literally in hypnosis, which is why her eyes kind of glaze over like that. But I think the effect on that was definitely very well executed. I think those scenes look absolutely beautiful, especially just because she does kind of like have that whole like enthralled in him, totally lost in you type look to it. But I don't know. I can't think of like a specific like all-time favorite scene that just like really pops out in my mind. Like I know one of my favorite scenes from Interview with a Vampire is the one scene between Lestat and Louis, where they have the prostitute in their room. Lestat just kind of like throws her in the coffin. He's like, "You're dead. This is your coffin." And she's like, "I'm not dead." She's like totally freaking out. I think at one point she trips over her own dress and Louis catches her because she would have like fallen face first out of the coffin. But just seeing like the amount of distress that she's in and seeing like how I guess how ill-willed Lestat is, it's a great scene for character development, because it really shows you at their core who they really are as people. So definitely in that aspect, just because it further develops the characters, I think it's an excellent scene. um, John Carpenter's The Thing. I vaguely remember that scene with the dog creature transformation. Like I mostly remember like that big muddled blob at the end where you've kind of like got that one random guy's head just kind of like hanging off to the side, and then you've got like all these other creature bits here and there. Um, I hadn't seen the film in years, and I know I was like so tired the last time I watched it. I fell asleep and I woke up in the middle of that scene. I just totally burst out laughing. I mean, I know it's not meant to be a funny scene, but like just randomly waking up and seeing everything out of context, and you're seeing like this bizarre creature, it is kind of funny. Um, but yeah, I mean, they definitely did have some really good effects in that as well. Definitely very, very believable. Let me see here. Let's see, RPG and strategy games. I honestly find strategy games so boring. RPG, I'm not really into those. Like the last one I ever played was like the Dempa Men, which I think was like a digital download exclusive for PS3. But to me, those are actually really fun. That particular game, because you actually have to use like the camera or the viewer on the 3DS. I think I said the wrong console earlier, but you have to use the camera on the 3DS to like view these little creature things, and you actually catch them. Like they have this whole gimmick of like they travel or they live on radio waves and whatnot. So you capture this creature, kind of like a Pokemon ripoff type thing, and you store them in your little storage space. But they all have like different abilities based on if they're striped, if they're solid colored, if they have antennas on their heads. So it's kind of like this weird Teletubby Pokemon thing going on. But it sounds like super bizarre. I don't think they make those games anymore. I think they only released like two. But that was actually kind of fun to play. You liked the ending of Drag Me to Hell, where he cries, "Oh, now he believes." I honestly, I found the ending very sad because I can't remember the character's name, but she's like under so much stress throughout the entire film, and she's like, fighting so hard to save her life. And she only made, in my opinion, it was just like one minor bad decision. It's not like she definitely, it's not like she ran someone over or something. It wasn't extreme, but that gypsy woman definitely did know how to lay a curse and hold a grudge, and awesome of her that she was able to pull that off. But just the fact that she fought so hard to save her life, and that she did try to set things right. It was too late because the old woman had passed away, and I don't know, maybe that was just the price of her curse. But it was kind of like, get out of here, nobody needs you anymore. The way she was treated at the wake. And you did have people that kind of like, to some degree, subtly did try to help her, but they just really didn't get it. So essentially, she was alone throughout the entire film, and we just kind of like see this like multitude of trauma just going on in her head, like internal and external, especially when the supernatural stuff starts going on. But yeah, that's definitely a fun film. I love how they incorporated the comedy. And in my opinion, I think it does have some pretty good character development and special effects. What was my favorite Halloween costume as a kid? Um, I know I was a witch a couple of times. I know I was a werewolf a couple of times. Those are like pretty much the only repeats that I ever did. Like I know I was a vampire once, and that was kind of like boring. Um, I know one time I was, God, it's like the most inappropriate costume. I don't know why my parents even let me wear it, but it was kind of like a casino girl type thing. I was like 8 years old. It's like so super inappropriate because it was like a leotard with the stockings. And you had like the tiger ears with the little bow tie and the tiger tail. As a kid, to me it was fun. Like I'm a cat. I'm like, no, you shouldn't have worn that. um, I think my parents were looking at more as, she's a little girl. Nobody's going to look at her inappropriately. But looking back at that as an adult, they never should have let me wear that. um, what films am I looking forward to this year? I really don't keep up with the newer films. Like it's really hard for me. Like like even on YouTube or like searching like movie news sites or whatever, I have ad blocker on, so I don't get like the random film trailers that just like pop up and annoy people. Um, so it's usually like through like horror news sites where I find out about stuff. But right now there really hasn't been anything that's caught my interest. But it's not something that I unfortunately like keep up with. I just kind of mostly stick to the old school stuff, especially because newer films are just so hard to keep up with. Like there's this new thing, there's that new thing. I want to watch this, I want to watch that. I'm like, it's exhausting to keep up with for me. So I just feared I'm just going to go off of whatever people are talking about on like Instagram, Twitter. If it sounds interesting, I'll check it out. But I don't actively like seek these things out on my own. So yeah. Plus, I just like blind watching stuff. So kind of like if I hear or see a little bit about a movie that seems interesting to me, I'll avoid it from there on out. Um, I just realized my coffee's cold. I'll avoid it from there on out because, I prefer to be surprised by a film. Like I learned the hard way when I was younger. Like you watch the trailers and you get this idea in your head and all these expectations of what you think a film is or what a film should be, like in your mind. Like you have it built up to what you think it is, and then you watch the film and it feels kind of like a letdown to a degree because it wasn't what you expected. But it feels like you rip yourself off because you're looking for something particular instead of viewing the film the way the director wanted to present it. So I prefer to blind watch it because in my mind, it's like the closest you can get to seeing it the way the director had intended for the film to be seen. I don't know if there's like any truth to that, but I definitely find that I enjoy films a lot more when I go into it not knowing anything about it. Any favorite horror TV shows? Um, Definitely a few. Growing up, I loved watching Friday the 13th. Obviously not related to the Jason Voorhees, but it's an antique shop filled with cursed objects. And I always loved watching that. That one's definitely fun, especially when it got released on DVD. I want to say back in 2010, if I'm remembering correctly. I just totally went nuts, and I totally picked those up every time they released a new one. Um, One that I haven't finished watching, which I also enjoy, is Tales from the Dark Side, and then I believe they had their spin-off, which was Monsters. And let's see, I know I have that behind me right here. I mean, the it doesn't really give you an idea of like what it's about, but just kind of like those little anthology stories type things. Um, I don't know if like you guys remember the intro to that, where it's kind of like the family they're gathered around and they're watching TV, and I think it's the father. He had kind of like no, was it the father or the mother? One of them had like a cyclops eye, or I think all of them did. But you know, th that was definitely an interesting design, and there was a lot of detail in that just for a show intro, which I thought was kind of cool. Um, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, when that one was first out, took a while to grow on me because I honestly didn't expect the show to make it past its first season. Like I didn't expect it to go anywhere, and that was like my first initial thought before I even sat down to watch the first episode. And then you know the what was it? The season pilot was like a two-parter, but after that, I was just totally hooked. Um, of course, I also like watching Supernatural, and I'm gonna be honest, I watch it for the monsters. I really don't care about the guys. I know there's a lot of girls out there that just watch it for the dudes, but whatever. But yeah, that's honestly the only reason I watched Scooby Doo as a kid too. I just watched it for the monsters, even though they were all proven as fake. But yeah, but yeah, but yeah, I totally agree with Blair on the Drag Me to Hell. She did play the role extremely well for that character. Was it? I want to say Alison Lohman. That the actress? Am I totally wrong? I'm horrible at names, but I don't know if she's still doing movies or not. I haven't seen her in anything in a long while. Freddy's Nightmares. I wish that one had gotten a release. I know I also loved watching that one as a kid. Like, I really don't remember any particular episodes specifically. Like, there's just only like one piece of a show that I have like in my mind. Like, I think it was like a woman who was slightly overweight, and they called her a roly poly. I don't think anyone even says that anymore. Um, I know, just like super random, but I really don't remember too much about that show. But I did think it was cool though that Robert Englund did come back to reprise the Freddy role. Um, I think he's the only actor that actually played the character, the monster, all the way throughout the entire series. Um, Definitely Jason Voorhees was played by several different actors. You only watch Supernatural for the car and the monsters. That is a sweet ride. They had, I don't know if they're still selling it or not. It was like a reproduction of their car. God, I forgot who released it. But yeah, I know that thing did cost a fair chunk, but it's a beautiful car. Not the dudes. Nah, never the dudes. Um, yeah, definitely. I think Robert Englund is like the ultimate Freddy. If I remember correctly, were they trying to relaunch Nightmare on Elm Street again? I think I had read something about that sometime last year, and I just haven't heard anything else about it. Um, Kane Hodder, yeah, his name totally slipped me. Um, Played the most Jason Voorhees. I would not doubt that he definitely has a very distinct look about him, especially like his body type. Even if he's like masked or whatever, you totally know it's him. Um, Going back to the whole werewolf thing, just because I remembered right now, since you mentioned Kane Hodder, I don't know if you guys have seen Project Metal Beast, but Kane Hodder played the werewolf in that, and I thought it was like super cool because I think skin grafting was still kind of like a technique that was being developed or more talked about at that time. Like, I think it was like mid 90s, like they were developing new techniques for it. And it takes the idea of like this guy who they're kind of like trying to graft and create a metal soldier, but they, you know how it is, the military, they didn't tell them that the guy that they're working on is actually a werewolf. So they accidentally create this metal werewolf. And of course, when he starts rampaging and killing everyone, it's like, how do we take him out? He's metal. um, that kind of makes you wonder, like, what a metal werewolf versus Wolverine fight would look like. Um, Let me see here. Oh, okay, so no news about it. Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, it got buried. Um, yeah, I hadn't heard anything about it in a long time. Yeah, I don't think he'd come back as Freddy. Honestly, not to be rude, but I think he's getting too old. Like certain roles just like really demand so much from an actor. And I mean, even if you're physically fit, I mean, you still get exhausted, especially if you have to like wear like certain applications and stuff. That stuff is not easy to wear. Movie concepts are unusual. Honestly, I like the more bizarre ones. I mean, especially if Project Metal Beast, I don't hear too many people talk about it. It seems more like one of those obscure, mostly forgotten about films. Like, I think it did have a DVD release at some point and it just hasn't been re-released. So I don't think it's ever made its way to Blu-ray. But yeah, that one's definitely a fun watch. To Infinity Fight. You know, even Wolverine versus like a regular werewolf. Can you imagine how trippy that would be? You know, like if he extracts his claws and like tears up his own chest and the werewolf like sees him heal on the spot and the werewolf's like, what the fuck? That would be so awesome. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys have like any other questions or anything. Nice collection. Thank you. Yeah, I've definitely probably spent way too much time collecting stuff. I'm at the point too where I'm trying to decide which things to keep and which things to let go just because I have so many things and I've dropped off tons of stuff in storage. And I still have like tons of stuff in my room that I haven't unpacked, that I haven't packed up rather. Um, I know eventually at some point in time I do want to film like a bedroom tour, just kind of like give more of a look of like the other stuff in this room. Um, you know, I just kind of think it might be neat, just kind of like seeing like what other types of stuff I collect. I don't know if that's like a thing that you guys are into or not. Like I have various posters in my bedroom, and I tend to lean more towards the colors red, black, and white. Um, I don't know why, I just do. But yeah, I think it was like very subconscious. Like every single poster in my bedroom has red, black, and white on it. So, I mean, it just happened on its own, but I thought that was kind of cool. Um, I also have like tons of other posters that are framed and I have nowhere to hang them. I have tons of posters that are still like tubed up because I don't want them getting like bent up or ruined and I have nowhere to put them. Metal Beast versus the Hulk. That's not even a fair fight. I think he would just like dent him like an aluminum can. um, Superman versus Robot Werewolf. Oh god, that would be so crazy. We have like a we have a metal Godzilla. Why not? Monster pop figures. Yes, I have two, which are basically just like my two favorite characters from this show. So I have Lily, and I never opened these. I just like to leave them closed up. I don't know if you guys can see that okay there. And then of course just the backing. So of course I didn't bother with like Grandpa Herman. And of course you have Grandpa, which if you guys have ever seen like the first Monsters movie, we find out that Grandpa was actually part of the team that worked on and created Herman. So basically, essentially, Grandpa is Herman's father. Um, and then, of course, Lily got all hot and bothered, I guess, and ran off with Herman and married him. So he's kind of like her brother slash not brother. I don't know. That show's kind of crazy. And then, of course, we have the cousin who's Wolfgang, I think, who happens to be a werewolf, and the little boy who ironically happens to be a werewolf. I'm like, Lily, you have been busy, girl. I do not know what's going on in that house. Room tour is always good. Yeah, I would definitely love to do that. I would have to take the time to clean this place up because I live like a teenage boy. There's like so much mess around me and behind me. It's ridiculous. Scuba Steve Films. I'm new to your channel, saw you on the Save Horror Tube playlist and subbed right away. I love what you do. Well, thanks for dropping by and visiting for the stream. You know, definitely appreciate that. And thank you so much for subscribing. Definitely very awesome of you. So thank you. Marvel and DC versus monsters. um, just randomly reminded me of like DC versus Mortal Kombat type thing. But yeah. You collect pop figures too. Pops are definitely fun. The first two, well, the first one I ever collected was Gizmo, and it actually took a while for the pop style to grow on me because they're like super distinct. You know, you know a pop when you see one. But when they were first out, they just really didn't catch my interest. Like whatever, you know, weird design creatures, stupid characters, you know, rattling off, blah blah blah. And then I saw the Gizmo. I'm like, oh, he's so cute. I've always wanted a Gizmo, so of course I got him. And I later changed my mind and regretted not having gotten Stripe, which I later found. I later found one. So I have them both separately, but they're not like the Blu-ray gift set where it's the first and second Gremlins, where you have Gizmo and Stripe together like as part of the gift set. Like I actually bought all of my stuff separate. But I think it's cool that they did re-release those for that gift set, definitely. But yeah, I definitely have quite a few pops. The one series that I was most disappointed about was Dark Crystal because I really love that film. You know, and they did have like the elder mystic as well as the Skeksis, and then you had Kira and Jim. But the one character that I was like super looking forward to was the Whimpering Chamberlain. Like he's my absolute favorite, and they didn't make a character for him, which like totally annoyed me. So I'm like, fine, I don't need your fucking Dark Crystal. Yeah, the one character I really wanted, and I mean he in the film was one of the main characters, so I don't know why he just got ignored and pushed off to the side like that. But yeah, it definitely annoyed me. Freddy and Michael Myers, um, Batman versus Scorpion. That is too funny. It's like, why don't you just put Batman against like a giant double-tailed scorpion and just like go all Greek mythology on that? Um, but yeah, I mean, let's see. Yeah, I don't really have too many pops. I definitely tend to be a lot more selective over which ones I have. Like the Godzilla behind me is probably like he's like the first of the larger scale ones that I bought, and then the second one I have is the Queen from Aliens. Um, but yeah, other than that, I mean, they're like the only I guess jumbo size ones that I have. I don't have like any of the pop um, plushes or like T-shirts or anything like that. I just primarily stick to the figures. But yeah, I guess if I can just bore you guys for a bit and just do kind of like a quick channel rundown for any of like the new subscribers that are in here. So obviously like horror retrospective, I mostly just do older films. And that's just mostly my thing, like primarily 70s and 80s. I will go further back. I've done a few silent films here and there, but definitely one of my favorite things to do is I like to set things into like review series. Like, I don't know how long some of you guys have been following, but one of the very first review series I ever did was Marine Madness. And it's very specific. Like it's only about, it's natural horror films about either sea creatures or sea monsters. So it's like eco horror basically. So you've got things like Jaws, Deep Blue Sea, Lake Placid, things like that. And I do that like for an entire month, like every other year. And I actually have that coming up this May. So I actually do have a playlist set up for that if anybody wants to like catch older older reviews within that series. And then of course the new one that I have going on right now is Satanic Sunday. So I've actually really been enjoying that one. I definitely have at least 6 months worth of video reviews that I've planned out for that one. But yeah, I find it fun just to like set things up into like little categories. I mean, in my mind, if I'm entertained, you guys are entertained. Plus, it just keeps things from getting like too stale or boring. Like a recent one I started doing is it's the first Friday of every month. I call it Fetish Friday, but I'll basically just like review a film, basically having to do with various and different fetishes. So yeah, I definitely step outside of that horror box every now and again, I also have my media discussions, as I mentioned earlier, with PMR Bones. So that could definitely be anything from like a music video analysis to a scene analysis in a film. I could be speaking about film terminology or just giving my thoughts or opinions on certain things or asking you guys your opinions on certain things. So I definitely like to change it up. I don't like things getting too boring or not. I don't know if that's sort of a I honestly don't know too many other YouTubers that kind of use that channel approach, but yeah, I definitely love it when YouTubers change things up because everyone does like the top 10 or like the worst to best or whatnot. So it's just kind of like my way of just putting my own spin on things. But yeah, that's just kind of just wanted to throw that out there really quick in case we had any new subscribers in the stream, just kind of like letting you guys know what I'm about or just what I like to do here on Horror Retrospective. Yeah, classic horror films I definitely love. Like I have like the whole Universal Monsters box set that they had released a few years back. So it has like the Wolfman and all of the sequels, the Invisible Man, of course Dracula and the Wolfman. I eventually want to sit down and go through that entire box set just to review those. I think that would be kind of fun. I think the oldest film, the oldest film that I've ever reviewed was Phantom Carriage, which I did just a few months ago. I forget if that was like 1920 or 1921, but that was definitely a good one. The Making of Thriller, that was a fun little documentary to watch. I love that. I used to catch that as a kid whenever they would play it on like MTV and stuff. I always thought that was always fun to watch. Yeah, the makeup effects and the dancing from that documentary, like the one thing that mostly sticks out in my mind is like when they're putting like that sclera in Michael Jackson's eye and they're like you can tell it's painful for him, like his eye is actually tearing. um, yeah, those are not easy to wear sometimes, especially if you have allergies or sensitive eyes. Have I seen Night of the Demons? um, I have seen all of those. I actually own all three. I hate the third one. The sequel was actually pretty good. I honestly enjoyed it just as much as the first. Actually, I enjoyed it more than the first one. The first one's like a little bit boring here and there. Um, I definitely love the makeup that they put on Angela, especially after she got all demonified. I thought that was really cool. Especially just her dress or her little dancing to Stigmata. And I was talking to someone some years back, and they're like, Angela in that dance scene, they're like, that's wife goals. I'm like, I don't know, that's one hell of a wife. I don't know, can you hold on to a wife like that? Yes, I saw that they were very painful, those eye contacts. They can be painful. And of course, I believe like before they were only made out of like glass. Now you do have like variants of plastic that they're made out of now. But I know, especially for myself, because I do wear scaleras, you have to keep them clean. Um, as long as they're clean, they will always be comfortable to wear. You have that like initial discomfort when you first pop it in. You usually just wait a few minutes and it goes away. And after that, it's just like wearing regular contacts. But yeah, I mean, anybody who's ever worn them or plans to wear them, I would recommend cleaning them every single time before and after you wear them. Like dump the water out of your case, completely new water every single time. Do not use the same water. Um, but yeah, I mean, they're definitely fun, but they are not long use or long wear contacts. Like for myself, I can only wear them like maybe an hour at the most. Even if I'm using like eye drops, they become painful after a while because you have to take into consideration they're covering your entire eye. Your eye cannot breathe, you know? So I mean, if you're going out like to a club or whatever, take your case with you because you definitely should pop them out after a certain amount of hours because you do also run the risk of infection or eye damage, especially if something slips under that lens. I mean, that is like a whole flat surface that whatever bit of dirt or whatever's scraping up against as it rubs up against your eyes. So you will definitely jack yourself up. Um, and yeah, I speak from experience because I do tend to wear glitter when I've got the scleras on, so I overdraw my eye to keep the glitter away. But mishaps do happen, and yes, they are extremely painful. Yeah, Night of the Demons had pretty good special effects in it as well. And then once again, one of those films that just has the practical effects going for it. I believe, if I remember correctly, it was a independent film, but I remember watching it. I remember watching it quite a bit as a kid. Like it was like one of those movies that was always on TV. So it definitely did not like get buried in obscurity or anything. Yeah, regular eye contacts can be just as painful or tricky as scleras. I mean, the size really doesn't make a difference. I mean, just always keeping it clean is what the whole trick there is. Even if they're like the long term wear, I would still recommend popping those out. Don't go to sleep with them. I know some are advertised as you can and can leave them in. I would not mess with that. I mean, I've definitely seen videos and photos online of people that got really nasty eye infections from just wearing regular eye contacts, especially like the leave-in ones. Definitely not pretty. Yeah, they do. Eyes definitely do need to breathe, and they do need to stay hydrated. And of course, contacts, they do, even if you keep them like lubricated with like gel eye drops or regular eye drops, they will get hard after a degree, especially if it's a sclera because you have like so much exposure on the eye. It's hard to keep it moisturized. If you're going to wear those, I would recommend the gel eye drops because they do hold that moisture a lot better for longer. So I would layer the eye drops, like put some on your eyes first to let it sit for a while, probably wait like maybe 2 or 3 minutes and then pop the contacts in and then put more eye drops over it. And that would actually make it a lot easier for you to wear for longer, but I still wouldn't test how long you can keep them in for. Oh gosh, you got a splinter under your contact? That must have been terrible. I don't even know how something like that would happen. Sounds horrible just thinking about it. Um, I mean, I get an eyelash stuck in my eye and it feels like the end of the world. Uh, Splinters, terrible. Yeah, contacts overnight, I wouldn't recommend. I mean, I've fallen asleep with like regular contacts in my eyes before, and I was lucky. The contact actually slid, like it went up over the top, and so it was like on the back side of my eye. So I could actually feel it like scraping against the back of my eye, which obviously it's more sensitive because that's all internal. But luckily it did slide forward and I was able to pull it out. But yeah, I totally fell asleep with contacts in once, like just regular contacts, not even the leave-in type. But that definitely scared me away from making sure I get them out in time to make sure I don't fall asleep with them in. You can't take the imagery of eyes and infections. Oh, we haven't even gotten into the juicy stuff yet. I mean, there's eye pus and all this other awesome stuff. Okay, you worked at a lumber yard. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. So it did it like get lodged in your eye? Like you like had to get it surgically removed? Or that sounds intense. Because I mean, I'm assuming they make you guys like wear some sort of like a goggle or something, don't they? Like for the eye protection. That's crazy. Eye infections, and I'm just laughing about that. Yeah, there are definitely some messed up videos about eye infections and whatnot out there. Even photos. Let me see. How long have we been streaming for? Kind of feels like things are slowing down a bit, so it kind of feels like maybe we're at a good stopping point. What do you guys think? Um, Actually, my screen's not even showing how long I've been on for. I mean, unless you guys have any other questions, we can go for a little bit longer. Um, you know, that's it. That's honestly a crazy idea because you have a horror film called Rubber about a killer telekinetic tire. I'm like, why haven't they made a horror film about contacts? Um, yeah, they definitely can be scary. I honestly prefer contacts. I don't like glasses because the bridge of my nose is sensitive. Like I literally once had a door slammed in my face. So I didn't have it like checked out, but I mean, my nose, the bridge of my nose was like sore for at least 2 to 3 weeks. So I'm told it might have been fractured. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I mean, so I can't stand things like weight wise being on my nose for too long or like pressing on my nose because it bothers. So unfortunately, glasses would can't be an option for me. Plus, like the I don't know, for some reason it feels like my skin under the glasses suffocates. I don't know, maybe it's just a me thing. You know, it kind of feels like it feels like my skin gets all oily because my skin can't breathe. So yeah, I definitely don't like things like on or touching my nose. Almost 2 hours ago. Wow, I didn't even realize we had been on that long. Honestly, thought it was like maybe an hour or so. I don't have like the timer or the counter on here. That's definitely something I should look at next time. But have I seen Ash versus Evil Dead? I love that show. I think it is so much fun. Definitely hilarious. You remember someone slamming a door on your back? Yeah, I imagine that would be painful. I mean, there's like tons of vertebrae in there. Total ouch. I hit my face on a door before with glasses. Oh, geez. But for some reason, I only left a little scar under my nose. Yeah, lucky it didn't break and like actually cut your eyes or anything. Yeah, face injuries can definitely be intense, and some of them just never stop hurting. Looking forward to season 3. I was excited about that because I honestly wasn't sure if they were going to cancel Ash versus Evil Dead, but yeah, I mean, I know when they initially like talked about creating the show, I was like, oh, I hope that really happens. That would be so awesome. And then I think like a year of silence went by, and I assumed that they had just buried the thing. And then they went ahead and just went through with it, which I thought was really cool of them. And of course, you know, you totally had to expect them to have Lucy Lawless on, especially if Robert Tappert is on the project. They definitely, as a husband and wife team, seem to enjoy working together a lot. Plus, it's just always fun to see Lucy. You know, I'm always going to remember her as Xena. Definitely one of my favorite female heroine type characters. I hated that weird pink stuff they did with her hair in season 2, though. It's like, what is up with that? It was not flattering. Just grabbing my jacket. something like that. If it doesn't cooperate, you make it. But I don't think I remember like any particular favorite episodes for Ash versus Evil Dead. Like season 2, um, I don't know. I mean, like the initial episode was kind of interesting because it is kind of like, well, why is Ruby going back on her word and bringing Ash back? And then you realize her children turned on her. Um, that was definitely kind of crazy, but I don't know. I guess they must have been teenagers because they definitely do turn on you. um, See, the first Evil Dead movie, when the characters started to get possessed, most of them weren't really. What? Oh, okay. So they used different actors wearing the makeup. I didn't even know. I assumed it was like all the same people. I didn't realize that they had switched persons out. Yeah, definitely wearing makeup can be uncomfortable, especially if your skin's not used to it. Like especially if you have an allergic reaction, you can definitely get very itchy under that stuff. Okay. Yeah, Cheryl and Linda were there for some of the scenes. Yeah, that's who I was honestly thinking about, was like um Cheryl's the one that mostly sticks in mind. But yeah, I think was it Scott or Scotty, whatever his name was. I can't remember. I'm probably making something up. But yeah, I know he couldn't be there for all of the scenes. Like they referred to it as shemping, where they just like shot someone else from like the back angle and just passed it off as the same guy. And then if I remember correctly, I think they also had like dubbing issues because they recorded the. I forget how they did their recording, but it actually created issues when the film was taken to like other countries. They definitely had to create some sort of a workaround to get the dubbing for that sorted out. Oh yeah, I see it now. Streaming 2 hours ago. Didn't scroll down far enough. Yeah, that is a thing. But yeah, it's getting kind of late, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and jump off. But thank you so much to all of you guys for dropping by. I really appreciate it. I definitely do want to do a few more live streams, just kind of like get more practice with it in order to become more comfortable, especially because I do have some upcoming projects that I really want to do, which would involve a lot more live streaming as well. So I think it would definitely be a lot more enjoyable if I come off as like more natural instead of like all weird. But I don't think I did so bad for a first attempt. It's an experience. Oh, well, thank you. And actually, yeah, I have several piercings, but thank you for saying so. Definitely piercings are not a look that everybody's into. Some people walk by me and they like totally stare, and it's like, you know what? It's my face. I can do with it what I want. Um, some people are just kind of like rude about it, but yeah, it's just weird. Like not rude, but like they have no manners. It's kind of like, haven't you ever seen piercings before? um, I did not notice that. What PMR Bones was saying, where there's some scenes where Scotty has shorter hair and longer hair. Um, I didn't even catch that. You didn't notice how much time passed. I didn't either, honestly. I just assumed that we had been on for like maybe an hour or so. Um, I guess if time flies, you're definitely having fun. Yeah, I know, kind of lame. Yeah. So let me see. So for PMR Bones, are you also like doing more live streaming type projects as well, or just like trying to get into that a bit more? I do have a Patreon. I kind of like dropped it for a little while. I definitely want to relaunch it. I just want to make like more changes because I don't like the way it's set up. So that's the only reason like why I don't share my link, because I would rather present it when I'm actually happy with the way um, the whole look of the pages, as well as like which perks and things that I'm offering, especially because there are different things that I want to learn to do just so that I could be able to offer different types of options for perks. But yeah, I definitely do have a Patreon. It will be coming back. I just don't know how long it'll take before I get around to that. Um, but yeah, 2 hours is quite the stretch. So I think I'm going to go ahead and jump off. I mean, we've definitely been chatting for quite a while. And for those of you who have stuck out through the entire live stream, thank you so much for, just spending some time with me, just sharing some time out of your day, especially because I know you don't have to. But yeah, I definitely really appreciate everyone who dropped by. But I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. And I don't know. I want to try to live stream at least maybe at least sometime next week as well. I don't know if I'm going to do it again um, this weekend. Probably not. But yeah. Okay. So you had a third one yesterday as a test run. Um, yeah, they definitely do take some practice. I had some trouble getting my Google Hangouts to work with the YouTube live streaming option today. For some reason, it was just being a bit of a headache. So I know I had like some people like in queue, like as waiting for the stream to watch, and it just like it felt like it took me forever to finally get it sorted out. But yeah, it's all about getting that navigation down, definitely for sure. See you later, alligators. But yeah, PMR Bones, I would definitely love to chat with you some more. I don't know if like you have any other live streams coming up. I think we're following each other on Twitter. I mean, I don't know if you announced them or not, or if you could just let me know. I would definitely love to sit in on your stream as well and chat you up a bit, or maybe just like guest each other sometime next week if you have any time. I definitely need to get more practice with that as well. Um, but yeah, that's I guess that's pretty much it for this evening, you guys. So I will talk to you later, and good night.